let's move on. Let's do a couple recruiting updates. Let's start with your boy on some positive Michigan State news. Jase Richardson is green and white. Trilly Donovan broke the news over the weekend. This comes as a surprise to me because, again, you're my Michigan State source, but as little as 24 hours ago, it was we all expect Alabama. Was it we all expect Alabama because you were trying to manifest Alabama here? Or like what? Did something flip in this recruitment last minute that led him to Michigan State?
No, it was truly Alabama was said to be the lean. Like that was what everyone was saying. I did a pre-write for a commitment for Jase Richardson to Michigan State. And even when I was talking with the editor, he was like, yeah, it's looking like an Alabama lean, but because he hasn't confirmed or anything like that, just go ahead and just throw a pre-write out there just in case he commits. So it came of a surprise, I think, to most people until Trilly himself dropped the Tom Izzo gif, which sent Michigan State Twitter into a whirlwind. But yeah, it was really said to be a Alabama lean for the most part coming into the final hour, and then the Michigan State Tom Izzo going to be able to coach a son and a father, which is a crazy thing in itself. And Michigan State was able to get a commitment from Jase Richardson. And what I want to say about it is it's a good commitment. It is like I feel like I've seen some people not excited about getting Jase, and I think that should be far from the truth. It's a huge win that when you're able to get a highly rated kid like Jase Richardson to commit to your program. I think the real concerns that come with this are just how's he gonna fit with the other team members, as far as just game wise, not like anything that he is as a person, but I'm talking about next season. Looking forward, I look at it as Jeremy Fears has the ball in his hands at all times. You yourself just compared him to Jase Richardson to Travis Trice. Travis Trice did best when he had the ball in his hands. I don't know necessarily how much Jase can have the ball in his hands if Jeremy Fears has the ball in his hands. You know what I'm saying? Like when you compare Michigan State players, Tom Izzo threw out the Jeremy Fears is the next coming of Mateen. Well, you don't take the ball out of Mateen's hands and when you want to win basketball games. So I think the dynamic will be interesting. But also I think Jase as a player, he does so many things. He doesn't necessarily do one thing great, but he does a lot of good things all around. So, maybe he can fit next to a guy like Jeremy Fears. I think it'd be interesting to see, but definitely a recruiting win. And the what is it, the tired or the wired angle? Here's my wired angle. We out recruited Alabama and Nate Oates for a guard.
It's a huge win.
I want that. I want that in the headline.
Yeah, it's a huge win. I was looking at the depth chart for the next couple of years, and I think this is a really important add for a couple reasons. One, because I like Jase's game. Two, because I think this is the healthiest that Michigan State's depth chart has been in a very long time. And that's not like disrespect to this program or anything, but like in the last 5 years, even on some of the good teams' cart, there have been depth guys that have needed to play that don't belong on a Big Ten basketball court. That's been the truth. Like one of Izzo's issues in the last decade has been his inability to string multiple good classes together. Like he'll land the elite class and then he'll take 2 cycles off. That has been a repeated pattern from Tom Izzo's recruitment cycles in the last 10 years. What he's doing right now is following up the elite class of Fears and Booker and Carr and Norman with a pretty damn good class. Like I think Kurtang is going to be an instant impact guy. I think Jase Richardson and McCulloch are like guys that can play. Like I think this team, they might not need them to play because I think they're going to be really deep, at least next year. But this is becoming a roster where you go 10, 11 guys down, and the 10th and 11th guys are no longer, no offense, but they're no longer Pierre Brooks. They're no longer Foster Lawyer. They're no longer these guys that did not belong, clearly. And I've been on record that I think next year is the special year for Michigan State. That's not disrespectful to this year's team. We're going to talk about Ken Palm rankings, but there's a big gulf between what the computers say how good Michigan State will be and how some of the national consensus just from writers is. I still think like if you can get a roster where you get one of Hogard or Akins back and the sophomore class is all back, I think that's the most talented roster Michigan State's had in a really long time. I know you lose Tyson Walker. That's huge. But I love the makings of like Jeremy Fears gets the keys and senior Jaden Akins is finally at his right position and Kurt Tang's a perfect shooter and Carr and Booker are ready for the NBA by next year. And like now you've got Garrick Norman sniping off the bench. You've got Jase Richardson as a backup guard. Like I just think this team, this depth chart is in such a healthy spot. It's a credit to Tom Izzo. It's a testament to Tom Izzo, quite frankly, that, I mean, it's insane that Jason Richardson's son is going to go play for Tom. Like, I think I read a stat that it was like Izzo had made the tournament 4 consecutive years when Jason Richardson was in East Lansing. Now it's 25 consecutive years. And and his son's here. And that's awesome. Like there's nobody else in the country who can do that. But my biggest thing is I really do think even within Michigan State fan circles, I think people are downplaying Jace's game. And I don't fully know why. And I know we have a video on our own channel where we called out like he got a boost because of who his dad is. He looked pretty good last night. He was on TV last night in the Florida Showcase or whatever it was called. Like the man can get to his spots and he can score in a variety of ways. And you're right. I don't know if he'll ever be like the point guard on this team, but the best teams in the country have multiple guards who can fill it up. And I think by the time he's an upperclassman, he'll definitely do that for Michigan State.
Jason Witten's gave his heart and soul so that we can have bench players like a Jase Richardson, or we can have depth like this. There was a time on this very podcast where for weeks and months, we did nothing but yell into oblivion or yell into empty spaces that Tom wasn't, or Coach Izzo wasn't filling the roster. Like Coach Izzo wasn't filling the roster with playable guys. Like we were coming into seasons with 7 or 8 playable guys. He probably heard the noise, threw a little bourbon on the rocks on and said, okay, let me get to recruiting. I'm going to make this happen. And also Jace probably isn't the final piece for this class either. I mean, we're in for some other guys. I still think Bryson Tucker is a pro lean, but there's some other guys that we're working on. And then, honestly, 2025 recruiting momentum's actually looking pretty solid as well. We're in on some pretty big guys there. So things are looking up for Michigan State. And in my heart and dreams, I would shed a tear watching a backcourt of Jeremy Fears and Jaden Akins. It'd be so special. It'd be a spiritual experience. It really would. It's
one of those things like sometimes you just want to speak your own teams into existence. Like I did it a decade ago with, I know I could get Burke and Stauskas together like for 1 year. That would be incredible. Like you want to see Jaden Akins at the 2 with Jeremy Fears at the 1 for a year. I don't care who else is around him. Just give me that for a year and everything will be good. Do you want to go on record quickly and apologize for almost steering him to Alabama?
Yes, I do. I do want to say that. I'm sorry that my comments almost sent him straight to Tuscaloosa, but I still stand by that. The comments that I said in that video were, pretty accurate and also positive about Jase. Some things can be taken out of context, but I think it's very exciting for Michigan State basketball. And also, I think it does a lot for me personally, because if he did go to Alabama, there actually were people that were going to blame me, which is crazy.
Jay Rich, if you're watching this, Jase is going to be really, really good. Michigan State fans should be ecstatic about this ad. We are still going to make nepotism Jase jokes because that's a running thing from Jase Howard, Juwan Howard's kid. Just to be clear, that's not us personally attacking your son. Anyone who's the son of a famous person named Jase that plays Division I bat is going to get jokes from me.
Is Jase Howard a junior this season?
I think he's a senior this year, but he could come back again, though.
If he comes back, and I'm telling you, after the first game when Michigan plays Incarnate Word and Michigan State plays Grand Valley, and at the end of the first game, Jase Howard has more points on the season than Jase, you're going to see side-by-side comparisons. That's what this fan base, that's what the world of college basketball does.
Honestly, we got to get our list guy on this. I want a weekly graphic of Jase versus Jase. I want to know who is the better Jase by the end of the season. But yeah, we got to wait 2 years for that until he gets to East Lansing.